What's up, guys? We got another winter slasher. This one is Cold Prey. I've had this on my radar for a while before I bought it. I found it a month ago, I would say. Watched it for the first time yesterday. This is a Norwegian winter slasher, or slasher horror, whatever you want to call it. And it was fun. I did have a good time with it. It's more of a smart slasher in some elements, especially story wise. It does add a few elements to the story part of things, which are pretty interesting, and I enjoyed them. And I had watched the trailer and I had heard the concept, and I was always sold on it. There's actually three of them. I can only find, I'm still trying to find the second, but the third one, I'm having a hard time finding that one anywhere. But I do know there's three, so I certainly intend to watch the second. Really had a good time with this one, and in comparison to Blood Runs Cold, um, they're hard to really compare with each other because they are different. I mean, they are. This one is in Norwegian, so it's not English spoken unless you dub it, which I won't. You know me. But yeah, it's cool. It's a good story, and it's a lot of there's a lot of things that reminded me of other films too. One aspect, I'll get into them anyway. I'm gonna go through the thing basically. We're talking spoilers here, so we have these five skiers over here. Okay, we have I'm gonna try to pronounce names. We got Jenica, we got Morton, Ingun, Eric, and Mikal. And I'm pretty sure I got them right. I'm pretty sure that's Eric, and I'm pretty sure that's Mikal. So yeah, they're going up to the mountains of Norway, and the 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 atmosphere looks amazing. Um, one of the films that this film actually reminds me of is Dead Snow. Dead Snow 1 and 2, which are also Norwegian films, so it makes sense. Super beautiful looking mountains that are completely just covered in white and looks freezing, but if you're into skiing and snowboarding, just looks like it's like a desert but snow. I mean, just miles and miles and miles of it. So they're driving up to them, and they're driving up to the mountains. I mean, and we got another clingy makeout couple. So this is like such a good follow up to Blood Runs Cold, because it's not really that they're like blending in with each other because they're very different, but just like certain little things here and there. So we got another clingy makeout couple with Ingun and Mikal, and they're in the back seat making out. There's Morton sitting beside them. He's the fifth wheel, you could say, because Eric and Jenica is a couple as well, and he's back there. He's just like staring at them. He doesn't know what to say. He's kind of smiling because he's just the cool chill guy. And Ingun asks him if he's getting any action, and he's like, "Oh, don't worry about it. I fucking get loads, man. Right here, like all day long, 5, 6, 7 times. I'm banging my hands." It was just funny because I used somebody told me a joke once. They called their hand Jill because it's like Jill, and I'll never forget that in my life. I've never heard of it until he told me, and ever since, anytime anybody mentions, masturbating, I just think, "Oh, Jill." So that's funny. So that was a good moment. But they get to the mountains, they start their snowboarding session, and Morton ends up breaking his leg in this vast, snow wasteland that I was talking about. And I mean, he breaks his bone, like his bone comes out of his leg, and I'm like, okay, this is gonna be so fucked and far fetched because and I think too, like, what do you do in that situation? You are in the middle of nowhere and it's freezing. So what happens when somebody breaks a leg? There's no like lodges anywhere around. Even though they do end up finding a lodge, it's abandoned, and kind of goes with the story. But you know, I can't imagine what people would be doing on these trips where they want to like go into isolated mountains and ski or snowboard or do snow sports, and then an accident happens. Like, what the fuck do you do? It's terrifying shit, but breaks his leg. They try to put the bone together. It's disgusting. Um, he really portrays his pain really well, though. But then they put him on a sled, and then they're going for help, and they end up coming across this snow lodge kind of thing. But everything is completely abandoned, and it looks like it's been abandoned for years, kind of thing. They go in and they're trying to heal up Morton's broken leg. They basically use anything they can find. So they use super glue on him. They give him some pills and alcohol. They have a bottle of vodka that they're gonna use to, take heal his wounds, kind of thing. Put salt in the wound the way you would, and he just takes it and drinks it. And the girl's like, "Yo, pills and alcohol will fuck you up. Don't do that." He just drinks it anyway. He's just like, oh. And she's like, "All right, whatever." So I found that funny. And they end up having a party because they go into this lodge, and apparently there's like bottles of alcohol behind the bar and everything, and things they find in this place. I mean, it's absolutely insane. This supposedly abandoned lodge has a bunch of things around it. There's a record player. There's things that wouldn't that are don't even seem that old, and none of them really kind of find this fishy at this point. But they also find a registry that has a bunch of writings and recordings from the management, the management from whenever, and it ends up the last entry being dated for 1975. Apparently, a lot of people also go missing in these mountains for obvious reasons because there's snowstorms all the time and people just don't return home and shit like that happens. But there's this registry about this kid that the last entry in the thing is like, "Don't give up hope, they'll still be found," and it was dated for 75. So I think this is a 2009 film, if I'm not mistaken. Whenever it was, it's about 34 years after that, something like that. So they're partying a lot, and Martin's healing and everything. There's actually a scene where they're helping Martin go pee out like off the balcony, and they have to like help him. So this guy's taking a piss while a girl and a guy are on each side holding him, and it just seems awkward. And he's joking about it. He's like, take a look," and the guy's like, "Yeah, no, I'm not gonna look at your junk, thanks." But that was funny. Also, Morton seems to heal pretty fast for having a bone stick out of his leg, like really ridiculously fast. Both heal and then start hopping around when he needs to. So it kind of fluctuates like that, where a lot of people have to help him walk, but then like literally 2 scenes later, he's like borderline like hopping, sprinting. So continuity is never, how should I say, consistent for slasher films, and especially one like this. But yeah, there's a part where Ingun and Mikal are in bed, they're hooking up kind of thing, and Mikal goes into her, tries to get in her pants, and she stops him and she says, "I'm not ready," and stuff like that. And I'm like, okay, wait a minute. She hasn't had sex yet. They haven't had sex yet. They were a clingy ass couple. They couldn't take their hands off each other, and they look like they're in their mid-20s, like at all. Nothing. I just found that weird. And she's stopping him, and they get in a fight because he calls her a cock tease and all this stuff. And he goes back down and starts drinking again and getting drunk, and they're mad at each other. And then he talks to Janika, who gives him some advice about girls and actually admits that Ingun was actually a virgin. And I'm still like, okay, wow. I mean, she could be. I'm not saying anything, but yeah. And then, of course, Mikal, he's like, frig, I'm kind of an idiot for just assuming she wasn't. Because I do know girls hate that when you just assume they've had sex, or you assume how many partners, or you assume whatever, that would go for anyone. But I do know that women, in particular, get very pissed off with that kind of stuff. Um, but anyway, so I wouldn't say the party continues, but basically Ingun ends up being the first one to die after that. So they get in a fight, and then Ingun dies in a pretty violent way. Mikal is delivering her breakfast the next day, which again, it's just like oranges and stuff, but like this place is over 3 decades old. There's fresh oranges sitting around. Like, what are these kids thinking? They do end up finding a generator, and they do bring up like bringing the power back on, like before they start partying. And they bring on the power, and then the music starts off by itself, and a record just starts spinning, and then there's music everywhere, and that's when they find the bottles behind the bar, and everything's like warm again. And but yeah, it's just like shit like that. Like, how do you have fresh oranges and not be suspicious of something? It's explained because that's when they kind of when they start to see clues that weird shit's going around. They start to finally assume that somebody's probably there, and this somebody is not too friendly. The killer looks very identical to the one in what's it called? Blood Runs Cold, the one that I reviewed last. He's got the same like get up with the goggles and the big parka, and the guy's huge. Except this time he uses a pickaxe instead of like a regular like wood cutting axe. He uses a pickaxe that you use in like mining and stuff like that to chip rocks. And he looks like just as cool and stuff like that. They do find a secret room downstairs, which basically looks like a lost and found, and it's just filled with random things that they assume people left behind, or somebody, whoever's living there, is collecting. And then they end up finding blood in Ingun's room when she is unresponsive for the entire night, and after the guy delivers the breakfast and all that, she's still never coming out of her room. And then they go in there, and they find the room full of blood, and they get really suspicious this time. And then just scene where like they realize they have to get the hell out of there, and then they hear a door and like across the end of the hall opening as if somebody's coming into the lodge, and you just see a draft in Jenika's hair, and then she's like, "Yeah, we gotta get the hell out of here." So they hide themselves and barricade themselves in a small room, which anybody can get into, let alone a massive giant with a pickaxe, and they're just in there. There's a scene too. It's funny actually. I like this fake out scene. Morton is really hungry, and he's in the kitchen at one point. This is before like shit starts to go down. Or this is in the midst of shit starting to go down, but not everybody knows that shit's starting to go down. Like before they found Ingun, pretty much. And Morgan's in the kitchen, and he's really hungry, and he finds a can of probably beets. I don't know, but the can opener wouldn't work, so he was trying to like force it open, and then it cuts to, I believe, either Mikhail or Eric, one of them, and he goes to the kitchen and he opens the door, and you see this like huge trail of blood, and you just figure that he got Morton, the killer, and it ends up being this can of beets or something like that, something really red, that's just sprawled all over the floor, and there's Morton, who tripped or fell somehow because he has a broken leg and shouldn't even be able to walk, let alone get himself a can of beets or whatever. And I found that funny because it got me. Like, I was like, oh shit! I actually thought that he was done for. And the what's it called? The lodge in this, the setting, I should say, in this place also reminds me of Wrong Turn 4, and because of the cold going on, I found a lot of similarities with the setting that Wrong Turn 4 took place in, and this one. So you get a lot of vibes. If you've seen Wrong Turn 4, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. I don't want to go too long on this review. I definitely want to keep it as short as I can, but I really like it. It doesn't make a huge kill count until the very end, and I like that a lot because they even trick you with a few times with some kills where you think somebody's dead and they're not. Like they end up finding Mikkel, or Eric, sorry, still alive, when he was snatched, kind of like at the end of the first act when he was going for help. You think the killer got him as soon as he started walking away, but apparently he kept him, which is weird. I don't know why the killer decides to slash some people up but keep others alive, and he does it again with Jenica at the end of the film. He keeps her alive too. But I like the final interrogation with Jenica and Morton, where Jenica is ready to take a shot at the killer before he's coming through the door, and he uses Mikkel's live body to burst the door open. So she shoots Mikkel instead of the killer, and he throws his body away. And I'm just like, shit, that was a harsh move on the killer for sure. And then Morton makes the decision to let Eric, or let Jenica make the escape instead of him and leave him behind. And I was sad to see Morton go because Morton was a really funny, charismatic character, and as unrealistic as his healing was, it was funny to see him take it so, you know, not lightly, but like troop it out kind of thing. And I liked his sense of humor and everything that he would like keep himself sane in the situation that he was in. So it was sad to see him go. And then the very ending is crazy because Buddy the killer is Buddy the killer. The killer is dragging all the five bodies in a sled into this huge crevice that just falls, and he's throwing off the bodies, and then eventually Jenica ends up still being alive. Again, I don't know why he kept her alive. Doesn't make much sense, but she ends up getting into this like good minute to 2 minutes like pickaxe battle where they're trying to like take it from each other, and she uses like a little scalpel on his neck to distract him for a while, and then they're going at it for a bit. And when he ends up falling off the cliff, I like the twist that they gave, where it was actually like the kid that went missing the whole time, the kid that they found in that that what's it called, the registry, the last entry of the registry, and the same kid that they found like newspaper clippings in that secret room, the secret oh my gosh, the lost and found room when they found the pictures of the kid. It was pretty cool that they reveal the killer's face and show that it was that kid, because it's slasher movies don't do that too much. If they show the face of the killer, it usually just takes away from the whole experience, and in this one it doesn't. And then when they show the face and add that whole backstory as he's taking this whole dramatic fall, and it flashes back to what actually happened to the kid, which is completely devastating. It kind of leaves the end of the film where it's like, wow, no wonder this person would grow up to be who he was. Like, no wonder this kid went insane. Like, it makes sense. And I kind of like that. I kind of like that aspect. And, you know, he knew where the cottage was, and he obviously knew how to take care of himself. Really had no other choice. So when he's fending for himself since he was 10, which if a kid could, I mean, it's again not the most realistic thing in the world, but yeah, I mean, I don't blame him for what. It makes sense, like I said, that he would lose his mind, kind of thing. But anyways, that's Cold Prey. I can't wait to watch the second film. I do recommend this one if you haven't seen it already, but it's a spoiler review, and if you're watching a spoiler review, I assume you don't care for spoilers or you've seen it already. So, anyways, I had a good time with it. I definitely want to check out the trilogy, and watching horror movies in the cold, in the wintertime, I mean, is the best time. So, subscribe to Morgan Film Fan if you like to listen to my voice, or if you like my film reviews. I'll be back for more soon, so stay tuned for those. Take care. Till next time, cheers.